Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be working on our 2011 Ford Mustang for a customer of ours. He brought in long tube pipes headers, pipes catted X pipe, and MBRP over the axles and mufflers. Side note, this car actually currently has full exhaust under it. It has long tube headers, it has a catted H, and it has the over the axles and everything. But there is one huge problem with the exhaust on this car, and let me get it up in the air and show you guys exactly what that is. Okay, now she's up in the air. Let me show you guys exactly what it is that my concerns are. So some of the first things to note with this exhaust is that obviously it's been banged on the ground a lot. So those are the cats. They've been smashed up pretty good. This header's been smashed, that header's been smashed, but those aren't my main concern. You're not gonna be losing really any power through something like this. But it is very, very thin here. Like, it is paper thin. You can see that these things are starting to crack. They're just not in good shape. And if you look over here, one of these primaries has rubbed the steering shaft thin. And anything where the engine's going to be touching the body is going to get picked up to the knock sensors as false knock and will actually start pulling timing from the car. So what I had done with this car is actually road test it and figured out that this car goes from positive 38 degrees of timing to pulling 12 immediately upon going wide open throttle. So we're going to be remedying a lot of the rubbing that's going on inside of this car. And here it is, some more on the trans mount. That's rubbing pretty good right there. This car has a catalyst deficiency code because the cats being smashed eventually blew through the exhaust. And this is leaking. Somebody welded the headers on the car to the X and then reduced it in size. They made their own custom exhaust mounts there. Then they reduced it some more into a non-mandrel bent pipe, which I think these are actually the stock over the axles, which should be about 2.5 inches. And this car has no mufflers. It's rubbing again up there. Comes all the way out the back of the car. Somebody did another custom exhaust mount there. This exhaust needs help. This exhaust is seriously welded from the tailpipe of the car all the way up to the headers, which means if I want to put a clutch in this car, I cannot even remove the transmission because the entire exhaust is welded. I would have to cut the entire exhaust out. So we decided, you know what, rather than trying to save what's here, let's just throw it all away. And when I was referring to the false knock that exhaust rubbing body and suspension parts and pulling timing out of the car, that stuff does reduce fuel economy and make the car slower. So what we're going to be doing is actually showing you guys the data on how fast this car went in the quarter mile, which was actually slower than stock, even though it has full exhaust on it and better tires. We're going to show you guys the data on how it went from slower than stock to faster than stock just by simply fixing the exhaust and getting rid of all the false knock. With that said, let's get these unboxed. And as you can see, we've got everything unboxed and the build quality is actually surprisingly good on these. This is some of the cheapest exhaust that you will be able to find for an S197. These headers and catted X pipe, I want to say, were $600. And the 3-inch MBRP over the axle pipes with the race mufflers, black tips, I want to say were $500. This is $1,100. You could have full TIG welded, catted, 3-inch exhaust. So without further ado, let's get into the install on this exhaust. You know the previous exhaust work was bad when you're starting out with the old Makita Sawzall. We have to cut everything out of this car, but it's going to be super satisfying, that's for sure. First thing I'm going to do is get in here and free up our O2 sensors, so that way when we cut the exhaust out, we can just kind of let it all hit the ground and not worry about nothing. But I almost got ahead of myself and started cutting, but then I realized I would have started yanking the O2 sensors out of this car. Another one right there. And it looks like our exhaust is mostly free. It looks like we could unscrew it from the X pipe in the headers, and we're good to go.
Stop for a second so I can come up here, but cut it like.
I was gonna cut it like here to make it easy.
Nice. What am I? Hold over there. No. I think you go to the side a little bit. That's not helping. Yes. Alright.
Gonna throw it over there at the pile of exhaust?
Which one? The old one? All
Yeah,
over there?
both of them.
Success. Great success.
Great success.
Gonna add it to our pile of chopped exhaust.
Garbage. Garbage.
These old headers didn't look that good. I think that one was leaking. These are terrible. Look at this. It's hard for you guys to see in person how small this is. Look at those welds. Those are quality, brother. This is the power making machine. Big old exhaust leak. They forgot to weld that, but these are power making machines right here. This is a lot of horsepower. Too bad we're gonna be putting all that in it. These were just really bad, and they're so small. This part right here has to be 2 inches on the dot, which is actually below stock exhaust piping size. That is crazy. Non-mandrel bent. This car is gonna be feeling good after getting this exhaust on it. Wow. Well guys, we got all the exhaust pulled out of the car. It's sitting in a pile behind me, and now we're gonna go in there with this E8 female Torx, and we are going to pull all the exhaust studs out of this car and replace them with the bolts from the pipes kit, which will make installing these headers a whole lot easier, because right now the headers have to slide off the studs towards the frame rail of the car to be able to slide out of the car. And with the bolts, we won't have to fight any of that. Cool. So now all of our studs are out, and we are good to roll forward with putting in our gaskets and our headers and starting our first couple bolts. And that should be a lot more breezy this time around. So I got the headers thrown in off camera, and they look great. Let me show you guys. So in these S197s, obviously you guys are already seeing that there was a few key points where rubbing happens. I do have to say these pipes headers fit excellent. We had no issues over here with the control arms. Both control arms cleared. These will clear. I'm gonna clock them just because I don't like how it gets close. It's about a 1/4 inch there. but everything cleared extremely well. And check it out. That is our steering shaft clearance now. We have a lot of steering shaft clearance now in comparison to the old headers. So shout out to Pipes. The fitment on these headers was freaking amazing. And something else I didn't realize about them, obviously these were TIG welded. I knew that was a major plus to begin with. Stainless, TIG welded. That's really good for the durability of the headers long term. But check this out. Pipes actually throws in the spike at the collector. And if, you exhaust gurus out there, if you know, you know, you know. That is awesome, especially for the money. These are $600 for these headers and the catted X-pipe. Let's go ahead and get the X-pipe thrown in the car. Okay, the catted X is in. She's looking good. These are really nice. These have a little bit of flex in them, just so everything could suck together real easy without fighting each other. And every car is just a little bit different. You could put these same headers on a million cars and the width between them could be ever so slightly different. And obviously the headers could be ever so slightly different. So these are a good way to guarantee good fitment regardless of the situation going on with the headers. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and get the over the axles thrown up into the car with the mufflers. We're gonna get this car mostly buttoned up, but we will have to wait until tomorrow so we can pick up some clamps for the slip fit part. We don't have any clamps for that, and it didn't come with the MBRP kit or the Pipes kit because I think the cars are supposed to have those from the factory. Unfortunately, like you guys saw earlier in the video, this car's factory exhaust is long gone. Somebody decided to replace all the clamps with welds. So we're gonna have to pick up a set of those tomorrow to complete the exhaust system. But for now, let's go ahead and get these thrown in. Well, it's the next day and we got our over the axles thrown up in the car and we had to go run and grab a couple exhaust clamps because this car didn't have any. But check out that fitment. The fitment is nice. We wanted it to sit in the car correctly, so it's a lot of little tweaking because the whole over the axle kind of affects each other. As you adjust there, it kind of does something up here, and it's kind of hard to get the results that you want and still make everything clamp together nice, but it is looking good. So now we're gonna go ahead and do our first fire up. super mellow when you're just sitting here idling, but when you rev it up, you know, it's got a lot of tone. I think it's actually pretty nice. This is obviously going to be a smidge bit quieter than if you were to have like an off-road X pipe. And spark advance is going to be the one that we're looking at, and you can already see that it won't retard the timing when we rev the car. So I'm going to go ahead and go up to 7 grand here. Look at that, holds nice and steady through, no problems at all. So that's awesome.